Grew up with his son, and then when I got home from my mission and was going into healthcare administration, my mom had mentioned what Bart did, and my grandpa actually stayed at one of his assisted living facilities, and he was at 3 different ones, and that was the only one he liked. So
well, that's good. Of course, he has to say that, right?
No, anyways, he's been in healthcare ever since he graduated from college, and I'll let him explain more about that. But he started 2 assisted living homes and in-home care business, and all of them have been extremely successful. So I know that we got a lot to learn from him. So
well, thanks.
Thanks for coming.
You bet. Thanks for having me. It's really exciting to be amongst youth, and the excitement they have to you've got a cause and you're out there striving for it. That's awesome. As Jane had mentioned, I actually got my CNA, certified nursing assistant, when I was a junior in high school, and went directly to the Idaho Falls nursing home and got a job as an orderly. And I just pretty much fell in love with the elderly population and healthcare. Thought I was going to be a physical therapist. That was my goal. Strived to be a PT, and back then in the early 80s, it was very demanding and couldn't ever get into school. So I would repeat my chemistry and my math and whatever I thought I needed to do better in, and still didn't get in. So luck would have it, I went ahead and finished my degree in sociology and got a bachelor's degree in psychology, and then couldn't really do anything with that, and so I got a second bachelor's in social work and took the licensing test in Boise and became a licensed social worker. And that took me to University of Utah for a little while, and then got a job at ERMAC during my internship, and worked there for about 7 years, and then started my own business. So healthcare administration, as you already know, because you guys are all in that, right? Pretty much studying the healthcare administration part of that. There's so many things you can do. It's so versatile. There's urgent care and nursing homes, assisted living centers, hospital, of course, wound care, insurance, pharmaceutical. I mean, you can just do so many things with administration in healthcare. And of course, medical imaging, long-term care, and in-home care. The thing that's personable and demanding about healthcare administrator is that it's your vision. It's your desire, what you want your company to run. It's your entity, and it's how you're going to do it. Whether it's pharmacy or health or long-term care or the hospital. And the buck stops with you. You're the one that has to make those decisions. You're the one that has to make difficult decisions that aren't always going to be in favor of everybody. You have so many interdisciplinaries that work together to make it all work, and sometimes those guys conflict. And your decision for one isn't necessarily going to make a decision for the second one happen. So your job is very big and demanding. But it can be it's wide-ranging and influential, but it also can be very rewarding. The cool thing about administration too, that I find is cool, is those things that you have to do at the hospital as an administrator, or in a long-term care, or in an urgent care, or for healthcare insurance. The skills that you need are the same. The skills that you do for all of those things are still the same. It's just how good are you at those skills. If you're super good, you're going to be CEO of a hospital, if that's the kind of stress you want. Or you're going to own lots of assisted living centers, or I have a friend that owns 24 assisted living centers and 4 nursing homes, and he's not happy. he's just very stressed. But you can do about anything with the healthcare administration. Some fun facts about some things that you probably already know is most of the time a healthcare administrator is like managing a small city. You have so many responsibilities, so many people to look to, your customers, your employees, all that. But about 40% of your healthcare administrators work at hospitals. And the other 60% are diversified into so many different things. You've got to some of the major skills that you need to learn are budgeting, respect, cooperation, and your demeanor has to be professional, and your character has to be, very, very professional. I'm going to kind of skip some of those things. You guys probably already know because you're studying healthcare administration, right? You're studying those kind of things. So some of those fun facts, you probably already know a lot about those things. I'm going to talk about some things that helped me find success. Again, I went to school at the University of Utah, and I worked all through school, like throughout. I was married, 4 kids, went to work. Part-time, I worked at the University of Utah. I worked in the ER. I was an orderly. I had CNA license, so I worked in the ER. I worked in neonatal. I worked in the NICU. I worked in the ICU. I worked in the rehab. I worked in the wound care. I worked in just about every department, ICU. I worked in the cardiac rehab. That was really fun. When I got into the cardiac rehab, the University of Utah was doing their 4th heart transplant, and I was in the physical therapy department then as a PT aide, and I got to go to the cardiac rehab with the physical therapist and start PT on the 4th person at the University of Utah who received a new heart. So that in itself was huge to see the trauma they go through, the emotions they go through, how that department handled them. I got to work in the mental illness department at the U of U. I worked at primary children's. I was on a per diem rotation on weekends, and they just put you wherever they need you. And so that was so, I didn't realize it then, but those were baby steps, incremental baby steps to where I am now. I never could have started an assisted living center and run it like I did if I hadn't had that experience. I never could have opened up my own home health business. I'm not a nurse, I'm not a doctor, but I saw and learned everything that they did. And when I was in those positions, I absorbed everything I could. I learned everything about wounds. I learned everything about burns, how to wrap them. I learned everything about cardiac. You just jump in with both feet, and you take that opportunity and you learn about it. And it moved me forward. It propelled me forward, so that as time moved on and opportunities came up, I know something about that. I can do that. So, and that's kind of the first thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is knowing the terrain. If you want to be a healthcare administrator, you've got to know what your terrain is. You need to know something about hospitals. You need to know something about assisted living centers, nursing homes, whatever long-term care, whatever you want to be administrator for, you need to know something about it to be successful. And the best way to do that is get a job, work in there. Is anybody working now in a healthcare arena? Great, a couple of people back there. Get involved in it. Know what you're in for. Do you really like it? When I was at the University of Utah, I still wanted to be a physical therapist. And just some little things that happened throughout that time was a doctor came to me when I was trying to get this guy out of bed. He had had a total dip, and we were trying to get him up. He was in intensive care unit because he was having some cardiac problems. And he said, "Wow, you really communicate well with the elderly." That was a huge stepping block for me. It's like, okay, wow. I didn't think of anything then, because I wanted to be a PT, man. I am not going to lose my dream here. No matter how many chemistry classes I had to take. I hate chemistry. But I could not pass that thing above a B to get in, and PT was really hard to get into. But anyway, so, I thought, that's interesting. So, and what do you know? Here I am working with the elderly now. But, so little stepping stones like that help you get the confidence, help you get the desire to do something else, move forward. Seizing opportunities. So I just wrote down a bunch of things that I think that has helped me, find success, and it can help you guys find success in whatever you do, administration or not, but it helped me in administration. An opportunity is going to come up as you create opportunities. And every time something does, hey, you want to work here? Hey, you want to go see this? Hey, you want to go see this crazy bird? Hey, did you hear about that fire? Let's go check it out. You jump on it and you go look at it. If you're passionate about your healthcare, you go check it out. So I would do those kind of things. Every time something, even though you're scared to death and you're nervous about it, you do it. You just do it, and you go and because it steps into another opportunity. find a mentor. Every place I went, I had a mentor. At the University of Utah, it was Jan Apron. She was a physical therapist that was over the burn unit, and she just kind of took me under her wing, and she showed me, and showed me how to wrap things, what kind of stuff to put on them, and then she just let me do it. And it was the whirlpools and everything. I just got to be in charge of those things. So I just jumped in with as much passion as I could and learned about those things. And she was a mentor. And then I moved into another field, and I had another mentor, Steve Hansen, and I'll never forget these guys. And he again just took me on my wing, and I learned so much from them. He was the director of the cardiac unit, and so I got to know him by just going up there and saying, I need to see this patient, and can you help me? And pretty soon I got to meet him, and so he's like the director of the cardiac unit at the University of Utah at that time. So it was a big deal, and I just showed him, you just show them that you're interested, that you want to do this, that you have a passion for this. And he took me under his wing and encouraged me to do more and do this. You ought to take this in school. You ought to take this class. You really need to do this. You ought to get a job here. This was really good for me. So just kind of helps you learn along the way. Working, for me, was as much as of an education as going to school. I learned more at work than I ever did in school because you're hands-on. It's you're seeing, touching, smelling, working. You're doing it all. So you absorb it more. Be eager and interested. You've got to have a lot of what I call zeal. Zeal is power. You've probably walked into stores and like, hey, how are you today? Thanks for coming in to Subway. Hey, that's zeal. They want you to keep coming back. They want your tenacity, your ambition, and your zeal will always trump brilliance and talent. If you can show that you're at least average in intelligence, but you have a lot of zeal, you're passionate about it, you like what you're doing, you'll impress them. They'll come back again and again and again because they form a bond with you, they trust you, whatever you say, they trust because what you did say to them came back to be true. Hey, yeah, you should do this class or you should do that, and you go and do it, and wow, that was true. That you have to be a truth teller, and that's part of your zeal. Be tenacious about it. It's like Winnie the Pooh, right? He was always, Eeyore was always, when Eeyore lost his tail, what did Winnie the Pooh do? He organized a contest to make or find his tail. That's an administrator. That's what administrators do. People are down, whatever. They create a way, they make a contest, they organize things. So Winnie the Pooh is an administrator. So I always think of that when I see one of my mentors told me that story, and I move it forward because it's so true. When you're tenacious about what you do, it says as much about you as it does what you like. Because when you become tenacious and you have zeal and you have power, the buck stops here. It means you're taking all responsibility and accountability for what you say, what you do, what you direct. Yep, I did say that. Yep, you're right. Yep, that's right. Sorry, that was the wrong thing. Let's do this. You take accountability. It becomes you're the one that the buck stops with you no matter what. You take the failures and the respect as well as the accomplishments. So back up your zeal with mind-boggling service. And when I say mind-boggling, I like to use that word because the service you give to people, your customers, your employees, it just boggles their mind. It's way above their expectations, way more. Have you been to a store or anything, you're just like, wow, I can't believe they gave me this, this, and this. I would have settled for this. Just back up your zeal, because otherwise your zeal and tenacity is just lip service. And lip service dies. After a while, you figure out that you're just a talker, and it wasn't true, and they're not coming back to your store. They're not coming back to your urgent care. They're going to say something bad about your assisted living center or your department because it didn't come true. So back it up with mind-boggling service. Go the extra mile. Always make sure what you say and what you do is true. It's gonna pan out. I always tell everybody the best thing you can say to a grateful customer is, "You're welcome." Because if you do something meaningful, it speaks for itself. You don't have to brag about it. You watch the Olympics, some of those crazy Olympic people that won gold, and they'd interview them, all they had were smiles, and they were just, "Thanks to my coach and my parents," because what they did speaks for itself. They just won the gold. They don't have to say, "Well, when I was coming off that one jump, I thought," they don't have to talk about nothing. There it is. And that's the same way your work needs to be, your zeal, your administration needs to be. It just speaks for itself. What you do speaks for itself, and that'll just get you further and further along. Administrator needs to learn how to team build. You need to get the right people on the bus. When you're the administrator, you're in charge of every little department. You're in charge of your employees, you're in charge of the lab, you're in charge of respiratory, you're in charge of the nursing staff, you're in charge of all that. And you cannot teach character. You think you get somebody come in looking for a job, and holy crap, they got 11 years in respiratory. They did 2 years, they did their own job, and they got this great, resume. But what's their character like? Why are they jumping around? Because you can't teach integrity. You can't teach character. But you can teach how to give a bed bath. You can teach how to run a respirator. You can teach those kind of things because you can find somebody to teach it for you. You can put somebody on your team that will do those things for you. Your job is to find the right person that does the job, that directs your vision, follows your vision, how you want it to be, backs you up, makes you look good. And if they're not making you look good because you went out and told that you were on a commercial, or you told staff or the community that your hospital will do this, and then you have your staff that's doing all this, you're failing. You're failing. So you need to get the right people on the bus. Try to get more for less. More from less. A lot of people, administrators, workers, hire 2 people when one's needed. They go out and they get a great big building, fancy sign, brochures that are gorgeous, beautiful with all their pictures on them, and then they go in and they get lousy service. Or they're so busy that you wait 45 minutes in the lottery room. Or you go to the ER and you wait an hour and a half. It isn't about the show. It's about your product. It's about your service. It's about what you say you're going to do. And like I said before, that'll just speak for itself. So when 2 people are needed, work with 1. You need to work harder, work longer hours. It means exhausting hours. When I started my quality care business, which is a home health business, I started in Idaho Falls. I was working at the hospital, and I just tell personal experiences because that's all I know. I'm not boasting or anything like that. I'm just impressing upon you. You guys can do it too. Anybody can do this. I was working at the hospital as a social worker. I had started out on the 5th floor just as a general social worker, and then about 3 years later I got asked to be up on the 6th floor, and that's where I ran the rehab. Me and a couple other people kind of managed the rehab unit. And I was sitting on my desk and thought, I do not want to be here when I'm 40. I'm at the top of the pay scale for my department. I'm tapped out here. I'm not going to be happy. So I started looking into alternatives. I have a lot of families coming back and saying, there's no home health people out there that are any good. Or we'd have to do follow-up calls, say, how did it go with your husband with his total hip or his head injury? What, did you like so-and-so that were sent out? No, they never came out until 3 days later. So anyway, there was a huge need, an opportunity. There was an opportunity for a better home health care out there. There was 3 people in town in 1997 when I decided to do it. I went home and told my wife we need to live on our food storage. Food storage, get your food storage. Because I'm not going to be making any money for a while. So I have a little red Toyota truck, and I got me one of those big cell phones. It's like twice the size of these, it has that big antenna. Sat in a little case in my car, and I went to work. And I thought if I could get 50 clients, I could match my income at the hospital and maybe pay for some insurance. I had 50 clients in 6 months. 6 months. Sorry, I get all tearful about this because it was hard. I worked night and day. When you're an administrator, you're on call 24/7. When you have your own facility, you're on call 24/7. You don't, that's your life. So you work hard. Your family has to understand that, and they will. So I worked out of my truck, didn't have an office, had about 20 clients, 30 clients, got a little office downtown, a little small cubicle, seriously, about this big, had a small desk in it. It was in the basement of an old building downstairs. I just needed someplace to park and my employees to come and talk to me. And then I got a bigger one, a little bit bigger, about the size of this room, over on First Street. And then I had 100 clients, then I had 200 clients, then I had 300 clients, then I had 350 clients. I got close to 400 clients now. And I cover all through southeastern Idaho, Driggs, Jackson, Salmon, Pocatello, Malad, all over. And I did the same thing there as I did here. I hire a manager and I say, you gotta work out of your car. I need you to work out of your car because salmon is salmon, and we just need to do it one step at a time here. And then I'll pay for your phone, and I'll pay for your equipment, and I'll pay for your gas, but I just, I can't afford a $5,000-6,000 office payment right now. We just need to build this up. So you start out with 1 or 2 clients of salmon, pretty soon you got a dozen, pretty soon you got 20. So that's how I did it. I didn't go get the big office with the big sign and hang it up. I did it from the bottom end to the top. I didn't go clear to the top. Because what if you don't make it? You got that $1,000 thing and you just don't have the market here, it just isn't working. You're out all that money. I didn't do it that way. I went from the bottom up. Get more for less. What did Gordon B. Hinckley say a long time ago? If it's broken, fix it, deal with it, or do without. You guys remember that? Probably not. You guys are too young. Fast. Yeah, he said way back, I don't know, 20 years ago. If it's broken, fix it, deal with it, or do without. So that's been kind of my motto as we progress. Keep moving upward and onward. That's just accepting those opportunities. It's a spiral effect. You get a goal, you find a way to make that goal, and then you achieve it. You jump in with tenacity and zeal, and you achieve that goal. And then that goal just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and your thoughts and your needs just get bigger and bigger, and pretty soon, there you are. 10 years are going to go by anyway, right? You might as well be doing something. You might as well be capturing your dreams, because it's going to go by. Don't just sit and idle. I think I'll just take this summer off. I'm going to just chill. I'm going to go to Mexico, whatever. Really? Make a goal. Do something. It's great to take time off because you can't always be in school. You can't always be working, but do something that builds on you. Do something that creates an activity. Do something that creates another opportunity that you can put on your resume. Something that just puts you towards the next step. Because down the road, 20 years, 30 years from now, you say, so I did my home care in '97, and then again, opportunity. All these home health agencies, hospice people, doctors were coming to me at the hospital and saying, Bart, there are no decent assisted living centers out there. When are you going to start your own? By the way, when I started my quality care home health, there was 3 of us. Now there's 23. So, it's competition now. That's okay. Competition's good. It makes you better. So then in '03, '02, I had a lot of physician friends and home health, and friends asked me, you should do an assisted living center. This one was no good. This one, they don't do a good job. So I built my own assisted living center, found some land, and you guys know Washington, George Washington a little bit, and kind of his. So I called it Mount Vernon, and George Washington's home was called Mount Vernon. So just kind of a short story. When I was looking for land, I put some money down on First Street. It didn't pan out. I was still looking for land, and I went over by where Washington is now, and Martha, corner of Martha and Washington in Idaho Falls. And at the time, it was just all dirt. And there was a big sign there for sale, and I called that. And when I was pulling out of there, I noticed the street sign that said Potomac Way. Well, Mount Vernon sits on Potomac Way, along the Potomac River. And I went, wow, cool, Potomac. And I already knew my assistant was going to be called Mount Vernon, and I was going to frame it just like Mount Vernon. White pillars in front, and just like the home of Mount Vernon. So there I was on the street of Potomac Way, where Mount Vernon really sits on in DC. And the next street to it was Martha. George Washington's wife's name was Martha. I mean, right? So, it's a B, right? Holy crap! I called my wife and said, "You would not believe I'm sitting on the corner of Potomac and Martha." She's like, "No, you're not." She says, "Yes, I am. Potomac Way and Martha, right here. I'm going to call this number. I'm going to get that land." I did. Got the land. Built that one in 03, and again, it filled up like that. Why? Because I already had a handful of people to go there. Why? My home health agency, my connection with the doctor. I opened up, and in 6 days, I had it full. 15 beds in 6 days, full. So that's because why? Because of all my networking, all my connects, all my contacts, all the opportunities I took for that. Everything, I already knew all these people. So I had about 7 come from different agencies that were unhappy, families that were unhappy. And the rest just came from the hospital, from home health, from home. It just filled up, just like that. So I built another one in 07, and it finished in 08, and that was a 28 bed. And that was more of a challenge. That, I didn't study as much on that one as I thought of. You know, you gotta stay humble. You have to stay humble in everything that you do. As you progress in your jobs and in your schooling, always stay humble. And I just thought I had it in the bag and it would be good. It took me a year and a half to fill that thing. And that was financially draining on me because my other stuff was just feeding it. And finally got it filled up. It was just a bit more of a challenge. When you move from a 16-bed assisted living, the licensing changes. Your administration license is upgraded, it changes, all the rooms have to be different, the doorways are different, the fire system is different, the feeding, the meals are different. It becomes a nursing home level instead of assisted living center. You step it up, and so I had to learn. I had another learning curve there to learn more about nursing home level as opposed to a 16-bed assisted living center. So that was a challenge. And then I sold them in 2012. Sold them both as a package deal. Didn't need to. Didn't have them up for sale. Didn't want to sell them. Just had a friend from Boise. And again, opportunities. I was asked to sit on some boards in Boise, long-term care boards, and I go to meetings there every month. And again, that just gave me more contacts, more networking. What are you doing with your assisted living center? What are you doing with this nursing home? How about this hospital? You just get in that industry, and pretty soon you're hearing all the hubbub and all the hype that's going on within your whole industry, and you use that to step forward, you use that to learn, you use that to step back. So I had a friend out of Boise, wanted to moving into the Idaho Falls area, and down one time at a meeting in Boise, he said, "You ought to sell me your facilities." And I said, "Yeah, no, thanks. That's what I do. Those are my babies, man. Are you kidding? It's called Mount Vernon, and it sits on Potomac. It doesn't happen, you know. I'm not selling these ever." And then Monticello, was Thomas Jefferson's home. Thomas Jefferson built a home called Monticello. He was an architect, and so I built Monticello, just exactly like his home, inside and out. You should, if you're in Idaho Falls, drive by and look at them. They're perfect images.
So we'll be feeling like we're back east road.
Totally. It is awesome. Pictures and everything in it is just presidential. That was really fun. So anyway, I said no, and then he called me a couple of weeks later and said, "Let's go to dinner." So he took me to Olive Garden here in Idaho Falls. He says, "If you were to sell them, what would you sell them for?" And I just threw a number out at him, just kind of, because you know your numbers, you're an administrator, you're doing your finances, you know your quarterlies, you know your monthlies, you know your taxes, you know what's going on. You've got a finger on the pulse all the time. And so I said, this much. And he called me that day. He said, "If your numbers can verify that, you got it, I'll pay it." So it started. Provided his accountant my numbers, my accountant, my attorney provided his stuff, and I got exactly what I was asking. So I thought, fine, I'll sell them. And so I sold them. And that was, 2012. Give back. The last thing I'll just mention is give back to the community. You're providing all this support. Get involved in the community. Sit on boards. Be a donator. Pretty soon, the leaders of the community realize that you have an interest. You're not just out there doing your own thing, you're not some lone ranger, you have an interest in the community. Pretty soon you're asking to sit on, council boards, and they're asking your opinion about, this in your field, should we do, what's the saturation level of assisted living centers, what's the home care, they start asking you, give back to them, be involved in it. I sit on a couple of boards in Boise, and I donate to the same Idaho Falls donations every year, and you just got to stay involved, because, like I say, they'll give back to you. And that's really about it. Any questions?
So I primarily focused on being an assisted living administrator,
Yeah.
but I've also thought about home health as well. And I just wanted to, since you've owned both, get your perspective on perhaps, what you like about each one of the focuses, and maybe who would be a good fit, and help me understand maybe a little bit more about home health.
Home health is a challenge just because of, it's their home. And so you're providing care in their home. And you're going into you're trying to provide, so you have like a workman's comp issues and liability issues because your nurse can get hurt or whatever. And the problem is they're the boss. It's their house, and so they get to be the boss. So they fire your aide, or they make it difficult for your care provider to do the work. So, that's the bad part about it. The good part about it is they're home. They're where they want to be. That's, more and more people are staying at home. And when 08, 09, and 10, when the economy just got flushed down the toilet, a lot of people were taking their loved ones out of nursing homes and assisted living centers and lived with them because they couldn't afford it anymore. And some of them were using mom and dad's money to live on, but we'll take care of you for it, kind of thing. But home care is, that, I love that part about it. I love going into a new home. I still do all the new intakes for my home care business because I want to see what I'm putting my aide into, what I'm putting my nurse into, what I'm putting, my RN into. What kind of environment am I putting them into? What's the situation here? How difficult is it? What to expect? So that when they come and say, I can't do this, or it's too far to drive, I can say, I've driven there, and I've been in the home, and I know that they're hoarders. I know that it's a substandard condition. I've called adult protection. I've given the authorities notice, but you can do it, or I'll be able to work that way. Financially, home care is 3 times more lucrative than an assisted living center. It's just, the money at first isn't very big. Like if you had 10 clients, then you get 20 and 30, and the numbers just grow and grow and grow, and your headaches are the same. And so home care and home health wise and hospice wise, the money is 3-4 times more than an assisted living center.
But that would be if you own the company, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If you're just an administrator of a company, still, a home health care is going to pay you more. I pay my managers for assisted living center, and then my assistant administrators for my home health, much more than I do my assisted living. Much more. And that's just because, probably one reason was because my first assisted living was just a 16 bed. And then, and when I finally got an assistant for my first assisted living, because I just did it on myself, if the cook didn't come in, I was cooking. Seriously, you do whatever, where's the recipe? How do I follow this? And because somebody didn't show up, and you get your help, and you don't have to do that very often, but if somebody didn't show up, somebody calls at 2 in the morning and says, I'm sick, I gotta go home. Who am I gonna call at 2 in the morning? You go in, you take care of it, take fun, you do get somebody to come in. So that was really hard about assisted living centers. You don't have to do that in home care. Home care, typically, if an aide doesn't show, the only reason they get to be at home and be on services is because they can handle home. Otherwise, authorities would put them in assisted living center or family or whatever. So they have neighbors, they have a network of help, resources that they can call upon. So that's not as demanding. But pay-wise, assisted living centers, less. I think it's like 40 to 60,000 for a 30 to 50 bed assisted living center. And I pay my healthcare manager $85,000 a year. So I don't know what you guys have looked at online and stuff like that, For my main office, Idaho Falls office, healthcare manager, I pay her $85,000 a year. She's gonna retire soon. So, anyway.
Is the assistant anymore, not the?
Right, my home health person, not the assistant, my home health person, my manager there. And she runs the show. I take off and do a lot of biking and running and getting into triathlons lately, and I do a lot of exercising, and I do the things I like to do now, and she runs the show. She's been doing that for about 10 years now.
Does she have a background in healthcare like you do as like a CNA? Does she have that as well?
She does. She's actually an LPN, and then she just got jobs at the hospital, and then she got a job in the medical part of it, and what do we call that? What do you call it? Coding, yes. Got a job in that, and she learned a lot about the business part of it. And then she got hired out at the site and was working out there in their medical department, doing all the billing, doing all the accounts receivable, doing all the hiring for their medical part. And when you work at the IDL, you have to go through physicals and all that. She was over all of that. And she walked away from there at about $68,000 a year. And I said, oh, crap. So I started her at the same, and now she's making 85. But yeah, she had a ton of experience. Otherwise, you're not going to pay them, you know, so. But that's average.
So where would you say Qualicare has spread out to? You mostly still here in Idaho? I thought you said a few other states that you've gone to.
Not states. I'm right here in Idaho.
Okay, it's all in Idaho.
Right, it's all in Idaho. But I'm all corners. I'm in Salmon, no, not in Coeur d'Alene, but I'm in Salmon, Spark, that way. Salmon, Idaho, Driggs, Victor, Jackson Hole, Island Park, Malad, Soda Springs, Pocatello, Blackfoot, Shelley, you know, all those areas.
So how did you start with your first clients? Did you just like people you knew had been in the hospital? Did you go to the hospital and say, hey, we have this service to offer? Or how
Yep.
did you really?
Exactly. Made me some business cards when I left the hospital. Already had those made before I left. Some brochures of who I was and my experience and what I was going to do. And I went to hospice agencies, home health agencies, hospital administrators, hospital discharge planners, people that discharged and said, I'm going to start my own home health agency, and this is what I'm going to do. Went to aides that I already knew that I had worked with in the past, and that I knew just working in the hospital. That again, networking. You knew they were unhappy with where they were, and I just started making phone calls and said, I'm going to do my own business. You want to work part-time? You want to get me out here? And just started getting, I was hiring people daily, you know. I still hire people daily, just because it gets bigger. But yeah, that's how I started. It was just going to all the contacts that I had found through my years of working and told them I was going to do my own thing. Do you have questions?
On average, for your home health care administrator, how many hours does she work?
How many hours do I work as administrator?
The home health care administrator, yeah.
When I first started, 80 hours a week, 70, 80 hours a week. Then as I got more managers and got smarter and started letting go of some of my control, started letting them and not micromanaging them and giving them 30 employees to manage and stuff. Right now, I probably work about 30 hours a week, 20 to 30 hours a week. Do a lot of playing. But I'm on call every weekend and every holiday. I still don't jeopardize or compromise my staff, my managers, and do not give them the weekend off. They work hard all week long, and I take the weekend. I probably work maybe 6 hours a weekend, and that's phone calls, people falling down, issues happening that need my attention anyway. So the assisted living centers, before I got my manager there, again, and I pretty much left my home care up to my managers there, and I did my 8 o'clock meeting every day, 5 days a week, and then I left and went up to my assisted living centers, and I stayed there all day long and all night long, and sometimes spent the night there. But about 50 hours for a manager. I expect my manager now, that I salary her 85, and I expect her to put in 50 hours a week.
So you mentioned getting mentors, kind of learning from people. What were some of the best ways you found of finding mentors, I guess? Because you mentioned one of them was the guy that worked was the head of the department at UVU.
Yeah, cardiac unit. Funny thing you asked me that, and I had it written down here. They found me. came to me and said, we like the way you work. We know you'll get this done. You're a getter-doner. Cardiac guy called me a getter-doner. And that's what I was. I was a getter-doner. Whatever it took, hey, we need this. Hey, we're short on this. Hey, this oxygen, we can't heat him up without this BiPAP. We can't, I said, I'll find it. Where's the story? I'll get it for you. And I was just on the go. So they found me. They started calling me, beeping. That was back when we had pagers. You guys remember pagers? Probably not. So that was back when we had pagers going off all the time. And, you know, and you're like, oh. Pardon?
You would go for it.
I was a gopher. Yep, and I didn't mind it. I took out the trash, whatever it took to just learn. It was fascinating to me. I wanted to see those open hearts. I even got asked to, not asked, but I was invited to go watch an open heart surgery. It was awesome. It was amazing. It grossed me out. I couldn't be a doctor. I passed out.
Oh, well, I was gonna say, when you miss that, like, do you miss that, like, acute care setting of surgeries and stuff, and rather just, how you do the home
Yeah.
kind of stuff? Do you
Yeah.
miss that side of healthcare?
Yes, I miss the hospital. I miss the University of Utah. I miss all that excitement, the learning curve of the burns, and yeah, that was amazing stuff. I got better at it, but I'm not joking when I pass out. I get lightheaded. My kid, Kaiser, fell and broke his foot, and it was just pounding on him, and they had to cut his foot open to release the tendons because it was blocking off the circulation, and he would lose his foot. So they cut it off, and I passed out! You know, the guy just sitting there screaming. 12, I think he was 12, and I just passed out. So it takes me a little bit, but I miss the excitement of all that stuff. And push me up that question.
I just was curious, for people like myself that have been in college and have gained an education, and want to get in the home health field or assisted living field, what would you recommend in terms of like, what opportunities exist for us that don't have a ton of experience, but we have a passion for it,
Yeah.
we're excited about the industry, and we want to get involved, what opportunities exist? Because like, for example, I have not been an LPN.
Right.
I don't have
Right.
10 years of nursing experience.
I would probably get a job, if I was in your spot, I'd get a job like in the office. And, not, out on the floor. I'd get a job in the office and learn, all the employment situations and workers' comp situations and all the administration things, whether it's entering data or whether it's, making calls to family or following up on bills that are unpaid, whatever it is. I'd get a job in the office and just work your way up, knowing that you have that educational background, you have a passion for it, you want to learn about it. And I would be exactly that. If I'd go into an assisted living center or a big one and say, this is what I got, this is what my love is, what do you got for me? Do whatever it takes. I'll make phone calls, I'll drive a bus, I'll take, whatever I can do. I want to get involved here, I want to do this, I want to learn more. And just show that passion for it. They'll hire you. We'll find something for you. Seriously, they'll find something. That's being an employer. That's what I look for. Again, you can't teach that. You can teach everything else. You can't teach that.
Do you feel like actually working in the field, like as far as learning as much as you did, helped you in the process of being able to like hire employees or relate to their experiences as well?
Totally. Couldn't have done it without it. It was the best education I ever got. Yeah, absolutely. It was, that was my education. That gave me confidence and the ability to hire people. Not to say, when I started hiring people, I didn't, and when insurance and benefits and all that stuff came, I didn't have a business background. I didn't have any of that background. I just did the business for dummies and started, called friends and what you do about this, what you do about that. Found people that could do it for me. But yeah, my experience in my work field totally gave me the confidence to do it. Yeah. It was a huge education for me. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
I hope that someday, well, I don't hope, I know, that someday all your work and your skills will come together and you're going to be pretty successful.
If there was one thing you would change, is there anything you would change?
Yes. Lots of things I would change, tons of things I would change, but one biggest thing I would change, probably for me, was I would have started my home care business a long time ago. I would have stepped away from RMAC. Matter of fact, maybe I would have come right out of University of Utah and done a couple of years at RMAC and just got to know people and started my own company. I would have probably learned more about budgeting and employee relations, or hired somebody right off the bat. I took a lot of hits, I trust people, and I just give them the benefit of the doubt, always. It gets done. People aren't always good. But don't ever let that, if you become an employer, don't ever get hardened or tainted because somebody sues you for something or doesn't like something that you had to do, because as long as you had to do it for the right reasons and you did the right thing, in your heart you did the right thing, always go to your home and bed at night going, I did all I could. I did everything I could for that person or with that situation. I made the right choice and do it. I would probably organize more committees to help me make those kind of decisions. That's one thing I learned later in life, like a couple years ago. I probably would have developed more subcommittees and committees to say, all right, this is our problem, we've got a lot of falls going on. I want you to be in charge of the subcommittee to come up with some ideas of how to prevent falls. I want you to help him and organize some sort of a game that helps promote those people that are looking out for falls, and preventing falls. And if we hit this level of prevention, we're gonna party. I probably would have done that more. I was more of, why aren't you in and out of those rooms every other 15 minutes? I mean, that's the policy here. That's what you're supposed to do. Here's your checkoff list. Are you lying about your checkoff list? You obviously didn't do that. When I first started in 03, when I first started my assisted living center, I'm like, here's the checkoff list. You're checking it, but why were they on the floor for 30 minutes? So did you really not go in there at 10:30? Because you said check, you did. So instead of doing that, I would say, all right, look, we've got a problem here. Let's create some sort of contest, like we improve. Let's make this worthwhile to all you guys instead of, they're fine, and dishonest about their checking off. Let's make it so that they want to do something. So yeah, if I start thinking about everything, I keep you here all day. There'll be lots of mistakes, but you just keep going. You just keep doing it.
I'm sorry
It's
for
fine.
asking lots of questions,
No.
but I just want to get your perspective. Roughly in the next 20, 30 years, the senior population is projected to practically double.
Right.
I just was curious where you see the industry going in terms of where you see it going.
Right now, in Idaho Falls, and in this area too, I see a saturation going on because it's still, you're right, 2020, 2030, it's gonna double. December 31st of 2030 is the last of the baby boomers hit 65. And so, but even after that, they predict 2050, you're still gonna see a climb because we're not retiring at 65, we're retiring at 70. And my dad's 72, he still works full time, he loves it, he doesn't know what he's doing. My mom still works, they're in their 70s, and people are still working. And so that, even though the last baby boomers, me, hits 65 in 2050, they're still going to progress. So it's going to continue to grow in certain areas for another 20 years. And then in 2050, I wonder what all these assisted living centers are going to become. Because in 2050, if you look at the graph, boom, it just tanks. Why? Because you guys are having 1 or 2 kids, and you're having them later, 25, 26, 27 years old. You're having kids, and you're having 2, 3 maybe.
So it should be a good 40-year career.
Good 40-year curve. Oh yeah.
You might want to look at it.
So
No, really. The next 40 years, and everything. Durable medical equipment, pharmaceutical, respiratory, transportation, elderly transportation. Everything in healthcare is just going to be continued to. Right now in Idaho Falls, it's actually, let's say, there's 26 home care agencies.
How do you still stay competitive with that many chopping at you?
I've lost a lot. It's tough. You never, you continue to work with zero. You continue to stay humbly and say, what can we do better? And you change with the times. Okay, this agency's doing this now. Crap, we've got to beat that. you know, we need to do this, or or you become the forefront and say, we're gonna give out, you know, this free and that free, and we're gonna pay more, and you start taking less home, and you just become more and more competitive. You find ways to make your agency as good as it can be. And again, at the end of the day, it's, back it up with what you say. You can call, you know, my BA's gonna be out there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 o'clock. Well, one bad thing about home care is I don't have control over it. You're supposed to be there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 p.m. to put this guy to bed. I'm depending on you to be there. You know, I'm not gonna watch you, I'm not gonna babysit you. So pretty soon, a week or two down the road, you get a call saying, she never showed on Friday, she was late Wednesday. So you finally call them in, and you get it fixed, but you start losing people like that. So you get on top of those things, and as the economy changes, and more people become, you know, wanting to do home care, whatever, to stay on top of it, keep the pulse on it. Keep your finger on the pulse all the time. That's been my saving grace. I've kept in it all the time, and I know what the employers are doing, what my employees are doing, what the office staff are doing, who's mad, what clients are mad when I go see them. We had just a small blurb here. We had a lady in Idaho Falls call the paramedic. This is a funny story, so I have to tell the whole thing. She called the paramedics at 2 in the morning because she had fallen out of bed. She was trying to get to the bathroom, and she had gotten stuck between the bed and the wall. And she's elderly, 82, and she's obese, and she called paramedics, and they come out there and they got her up. My aide goes out there at 9 o'clock in the morning, and she's sick. She's not feeling well. Anyway, she passes out. So the client calls our office and says, Shara's here, and she's passed out. She's on the floor. So I go out there, and she's in a diabetic coma. She's got insulin resistance problem. We did find that out. She's still in the hospital anyway. So we called paramedics. I called 911. They come out. They get her. They leave the gate open, and the client dog runs out and gets run over. So she has to call the paramedics at 2 in the morning. We call them because her aide passes out, and I had to get another aide over there to take care of her. And the dog runs out and gets run over. So she's mad. She's mad at us because she thinks we left the paramedics left the gate open. She thought I was the last one out, and I left it open. So anyway, I went over to see her. And so what can we do? What? I had that dog for 12 years. It's my baby. What do I do? So I said, what could I do to make this better? I feel horrible because I need another companion. I went to the dog shelter and started looking around and took some pictures of the dogs and went back to her, and she said, I think that one will do. And this just happened a couple of days ago, so she's looking at the pictures now and she's going to pick a dog. I'm going to get her a dog. And I want it to be a trained dog, and I want it to be, you know, I'm going to replace that dog. I feel horrible. That's what it takes. That's what you got to do. That puts you above. That goes 10, 15, 20 people deep. You know, it just keeps on going, it just spirals into.
So she'll tell her family.
She will.
You've on the
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and next time somebody needs, you know, it just helps. Thanks, guys.